The voicemail came. Before my grief even woke up, it was still dark. That unfinished kind of dark. And I was barefoot in my kitchen when my phone buzzed once, then went dead silent. Like it knew better than to ring twice. I didn't recognize the number. I listened anyway, following Mr. Richard Ward's passing. A calm voice said, "The board will convene immediately regarding leadership continuity." No pause, no condolences, just continuity. My husband had been buried less than 24 hours ago, and people were already rearranging his absence like furniture. That's when I learned something. Silence after death isn't peace. It's opportunity. The funeral was quiet the way performances are quiet. Black fabric, controlled voices, hands squeezed too long, eyes that drifted past me, measuring, counting, recalculating. I watched the dirt hit the casket, a sound that didn't echo. Because some endings don't need witnesses. I didn't cry where anyone could see, not because I didn't feel it. Because I've never been the woman people expect to fall apart. I'm the woman who handles what comes after. And if you've ever watched people smile politely while planning your replacement, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because rooms like this exist everywhere, and so do the people who benefit from your silence. When the cemetery emptied, I didn't go home. I went to the office. Not because I was brave, because payroll doesn't stop for funerals. Vendors don't pause invoices out of respect. But the building felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. Too polite, too careful. Conversations softened when I passed. Laughter came late. Like people were checking if it was allowed. Some touched my arm like I might shatter. Others avoided my eyes like grief was contagious. And power was already moving somewhere else. I sat at my desk and opened the same files I'd opened for years. Routine is how you keep control, when everything personal has already been taken from you. At 9:00, the invite appeared. I straightened my jacket and walked down the hallway with the kind of posture women learn when they refuse to be mistaken for weak. Inside the room, Howard Ellison sat with his hands folded. 10% ownership. Decades of partnership. He looked like a man choosing silence over honesty. Then I saw her, Brianna Ward. Perfect black, perfect posture, not a single red eye. She held a folder like it meant something. And when her gaze met mine, I felt something tighten. Not grief, not shock, anticipation. She smiled politely. It didn't reach her eyes. The board chair spoke fast. Stability, continuity, protecting the company's future. Words said too quickly to mean what they pretended to mean. And then the sentence dropped sharp and final. Brianna will be appointed CEO effective immediately. The room didn't react. It turned toward me. That pause, the one people don't talk about. When everyone waits to see if you will fight or fold. I could have made it messy. I could have forced discomfort. But Richard's voice was loud in my head, reminding me what pride does to unfinished legacies. So I smiled. I said calmly, "Of course. I'll stay to ensure a smooth transition." And the board exhaled like I had just solved their problem for them. Because I did. I just didn't solve it the way they thought. Back at my desk, I kept working, approving transfers, checking balances, holding the company together the same way I always had. But something inside me stayed frozen in that room, watching Brianna accept authority like it had been waiting for her. I told myself grief makes people strange. I told myself patience will steady her. I told myself my silence is protection. I was wrong. 4 days later, her assistant appeared at my door. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Ms. Ward," she whispered, "Brianna wants to see you." The walk to Brianna's office felt like walking into a room where someone had already decided what you deserved. Hallway lights too bright, carpet too quiet, and my heels too loud, because people had stopped moving when I passed. A new CEO doesn't just inherit a company. They inherit a hunger from everybody watching, everybody wondering who will be safe and who will be sacrificed. Her assistant stood outside the door like a guard. "She's ready for you," she said. Not "she'll see you." Ready, like I was an appointment, not a person. I stepped inside. The door shut behind me with a soft click that sounded louder than any slam. Brianna didn't stand. She stayed seated, back straight, shoulders squared, in Richard's chair. The chair looked too big for her, and still not big enough for what she thought she was. Her desk was cleared like a stage, a folder placed neatly in the center, a pen resting on top. Clean, official, unarguable. The blinds were half turned. Light cut her face into stripes, not enough to hide her expression, just enough to make it look practiced. "Close the door," she said, even though it was already closed. I didn't move. Something in me understood. Once I sat, I would be placed where she wanted me, small, waiting, needing. So I stayed standing, and for half a second, just half, Brianna's mouth tightened. I saw it, a flash of irritation, the first honest thing she'd shown me all week. "Elena," she began. The way she said my name sounded like she was taking it off a shelf. "I'm restructuring," she said. Effective immediately. She slid the folder forward, just an inch, like she was pushing me away without touching me. I didn't open it. I didn't reach for it. I looked at her. "Restructuring what?" I asked. My voice surprised even me. "Steady, controlled, no plea. Accounting," she said. "Operations." Then she leaned back like she'd practiced this in the mirror. "I've handled accounting for years," I said. Brianna's lips curled. Almost a smile, almost a sneer. "Yes," she said softly. "And that's exactly the problem. You've been here too long." Then she said it. Not expensive. Not outdated. Not business. She said, "You're a burden." The word hung in the air like smoke. Not because it was loud. Because it was chosen. She watched my face. She waited for the impact to land. This wasn't about performance. This was about punishment. I felt my chest tighten so fast it stole a breath. But I didn't let my face react. I watched her eyes sharpen. I watched her enjoy it. And that's when I knew something. This wasn't a bad CEO. This was a daughter who'd been waiting for years to hurt me legally. "I'm not discussing it," she said. "HR will handle paperwork. Turn in your keys today." Then she paused and smiled like it was kindness. "And don't take it personally," she added. "This is what leadership looks like." I stared at her, and I did something she didn't expect. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I asked, calm as ice. "Is that all?" Brianna exhaled like she was relieved. Then she nodded toward the folder. "No," she said. "There's one more thing." And then she told me who was replacing me. I left Brianna's office the same way I'd entered it, standing tall, face still, hands steady, because I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of watching me break in her doorway. The hallway didn't feel like a hallway anymore. It felt like a stage after the curtain drops, when the audience is still sitting there pretending they didn't just watch something ugly. People kept typing, kept whispering into phones, but their bodies were tense. They'd heard something, even if they hadn't heard the words. Her assistant avoided my eyes when she offered a thin smile that looked like apology trapped behind fear. "HR will come by," she murmured. Then she stepped back, like my sadness might touch her. I didn't reply. In my office, I didn't sit. I stood and looked at my desk like it belonged to someone else. I opened a drawer, took out the keys to the file cabinet, and placed them on the desk, one by one. Slow, careful, like I was laying down something sacred. That's when HR arrived. Soft voices, practiced sympathy. The kind of softness people use when they want to pretend something isn't violent. I signed what they asked without reading every line. Not because I didn't care. Because I was watching something else. The way they wouldn't look me in the eye. The way they kept saying Brianna's new title like it was armor. "We appreciate your years," one of them said. Years. Like my life here was a calendar entry. They handed me a plain brown box. Pens. A notebook. One framed photo. I carried it down the hallway. Quiet steps. But I felt every eye follow me. Not just pity. Curiosity. Fear. Because when a long-serving woman gets removed suddenly, people don't wonder what she did. They wonder what she knows. I reached the lobby when I heard Brianna's voice behind me. Bright, firm. The voice she'd been practicing all week. "Everyone!" she called out. The lobby wasn't meant for announcements. That's why she chose it. She wanted my exit to come with an audience. People drifted closer. Slow, careful. Howard Ellison stood near reception. Hands in pockets, jaw tight. His eyes met mine for half a second. Then he looked away. I want to thank Elena for her time here, Brianna said. The way she spoke my name. Casual, detached. Like we hadn't shared family dinners. Like she hadn't accepted my support at her father's funeral. We're entering a new chapter, she continued. And I'm bringing in someone I trust to handle the accounts. That word, trust, shifted the air. The lobby doors opened, and a woman walked in. Not rushing, not hesitating. Moving like the building already belonged to her. I knew her immediately. Even after all these years. Evelyn Mercer. Richard's ex-wife. Brianna's biological mother. The woman whose name tightened something in Richard's throat. Brianna placed a hand on her shoulder. Half affection, half possession. This is my mother, she announced. She'll be stepping in to handle the accounts. A murmur spread through the staff. Confusion. Shock. Evelyn's eyes landed on me. Satisfied. Like she'd finally been invited back into a house she believed was stolen from her. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't business. This was replacement. I didn't stay to watch them shake hands. I walked out. The parking lot smelled like rain and metal. The kind of air that comes before a storm decides whether it will pass or tear something down. I set the box in my trunk carefully, closed it, and stood there longer than I meant to, because something heavy had settled in my chest. Not heartbreak. Recognition. My phone buzzed. Mom, are you okay? Call me. I stared at the screen. If I called them now, anger would spread. And anger turns families into weapons. So I typed back, I'm fine. I'm coming home. I'll explain later. Then I drove. At home, my children were already waiting. Eyes sharp. Protective. Tell me you didn't let her do that, one of them said. I walked out. I replied calmly. Because I wasn't going to beg. She humiliated you, they snapped. I saw it, I said. And I heard it. So what are we going to do? I sat down, not because I was tired. Because sitting felt like choosing control over collapse. We're going to do what your stepfather would have wanted, I said. We're going to let responsibility teach her. They stared at me, stunned. You helped put her in that seat? One whispered. I did, I said. And that's why I'm not going to fight her with noise. I looked at the box on my table. She didn't remove me. I added quietly. She removed the systems keeping her upright. The next morning, my body woke up like I still had a job. Decades of routine don't disappear overnight. Then my phone rang. A number I recognized immediately. Vendor relations. Her voice was shaking. I'm not supposed to call you, she whispered. But they don't know what they're doing. I closed my eyes. Not surprised. Confirmed. Slow down, I said. What's wrong? And that's when I realized Brianna didn't just fire me. She fired the spine. I'm not supposed to call you. The woman whispered again. Like the walls might be listening, but they're asking questions, and I don't know what to say. I leaned back against my kitchen counter and stared at the ceiling. What questions? I asked. The equipment lease, she said. They never got the payment confirmation for this month. They're asking who's in charge now. Of course they are. Where's Brianna? I asked. She's in meetings, the woman replied. Then quieter. Her mother said she'd call them back. Her mother. The way she said it told me everything. I closed my eyes. Brianna didn't understand that payroll isn't a button. Vendor trust isn't automatic. Systems don't run because someone has a title. They run because someone remembers. Remembers dates, people, patterns. Did she approve payroll? I asked. Silence. Too long. She said she'd look at it later, the woman admitted. Later. That single word is how companies start to bleed. Listen to me, I said, steady. Don't promise anything. Don't argue. Tell them it's being escalated and someone will respond today. But Ms. Ward... I know, I said. That's why you called. The line went quiet. She was waiting for me to fix it. Like I always had. My fingers tightened around the phone. And that's when I understood something dangerous. This is what Brianna wanted. Chaos first. Then blame. A mess she could point at and say, see? This is why I fired her. I opened my eyes and stared at the light coming through the blinds. If I stepped in now, I'd save the company. And prove her right. So I didn't. By noon, my phone became a door people kept knocking on. A vendor who never called unless something was wrong. A staff member whispering from a hallway. A missed call with no voicemail. Then a text. "I'm sorry to bother you, but they're saying you left everything disorganized." That one stayed on my screen, because now I understood. She didn't just want me gone. She wanted the story of me to be ugly. The phone rang again. This time the bank. Not my personal bank. "The company's Ms. Ward," the man said carefully. "We're calling about account activity. You need to speak with Brianna." I replied. "We've tried," he admitted. There hasn't been a response. That's when my jaw tightened. A company can survive a rude CEO. It cannot survive silence with money. "I'm no longer authorized," I said. "I understand," he replied, then lowered his voice. "I'm only informing you because this is unusual. Unusual. Another polite word for the wheels are coming off." I ended the call and stood there, breathing through my nose. I could drive down there. I could fix everything. But then Brianna would tell everyone I couldn't let go. I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. The doorbell rang. A delivery man stood there holding a clipboard. "Package for the office," he said. "They told me to bring it here. To my house. They said you handle it." Even after firing me, they were still using my name to hold things together. That wasn't incompetence. That was entitlement. My phone buzzed again. A staff member I trusted. Her message was short. "She's telling everyone you left the books a mess." I stared at the screen, and something in me went very still. Not anger. Calculation. This wasn't a bad transition. This was a campaign. If Brianna could say that out loud, if she could rewrite decades of work in one sentence, then missed payments weren't the real threat. Credibility was. Because people who protect their pride don't correct mistakes. They bury witnesses. My phone rang again. I didn't answer. I needed the silence to hear my own thoughts. Somewhere in that building, people were panicking. Somewhere, Brianna was performing leadership, while the foundation cracked. And instead of owning it, she was blaming me. That evening, I set 2 plates on my dining table out of habit, then remembered I didn't have to anymore. I put them back and leaned against the counter just long enough to feel the ache. Without letting it spill, I walked into my bedroom and opened the top drawer, the one I didn't open often. Inside was a plain folder, not labeled, not dramatic, just heavy. Richard had said once years ago, "If anything happens to me, you know what to do." At the time, I hated that conversation. Now, I carried the folder to the table, and for the first time since Brianna fired me, I stopped waiting. I picked up my phone, scrolled to a number I hadn't called in months, the company attorney. My thumb hovered, because once I pressed call, this would stop being about grief and become about consequences. I pressed it. It rang twice. Then he answered, and I said, "I need a meeting first thing Monday morning." Monday arrived dressed like nothing had happened. Bright, ordinary. The kind of morning that makes you feel unbalanced for carrying grief and betrayal in your chest while the world keeps acting casual. I didn't drink coffee. Didn't pace. I sat at my kitchen table with the folder in front of me. Unopened. Not because I didn't know what was inside, because I needed my hands steady. By 7:30 I was dressed. Not in black. Not in mourning. In something clean and quiet. The kind of outfit a woman wears when she's done being handled. I drove to the office and parked farther away than I used to. Not hiding. Waiting. Inside, the lobby buzzed with shallow energy. People moving fast. Eyes forward. Voices low. A few heads turned when I walked in, then turned away just as quickly. Like looking too long might make them complicit. I didn't stop. I didn't ask. I walked straight toward the board conference room. The door wasn't locked. It never was. I stepped inside and placed the folder at the far end of the table. Then I stood by the window, calm, waiting. Outside, cars pulled into the parking lot one by one. Brianna arrived first. Sleek suit, perfect hair, sunglasses still on. Like she was walking into a photo shoot, not a reckoning. She laughed into her phone, didn't look around, didn't check on anyone. Power, when it's borrowed, always walks like this. Then another car pulled in. Evelyn Mercer. Polished. Purposeful. Carrying a folder like paper alone made her qualified. Mother and daughter entered together. Hungry. Certain. Brianna walked into the conference room and stopped. Her smile froze for half a second. Surprise flashed. Then the mask dropped back into place. "Elena," she said lightly. "I didn't expect to see you." "I'm here for the meeting," I replied. I offered no explanation. Silence does better work. She chose arrogance. "Well," she said, moving to the head of the table. "Let's keep this short. I have a full schedule." She sat in Richard's chair like it was inherited. The staff filtered in. Howard Ellison arrived last. Jaw tight, eyes alert. He nodded once at me. Speaking. Restructuring. Efficiency. Forward momentum. Shiny words. Empty weight. Hands fidgeted. Glances exchanged. Everyone could feel it. What she was saying didn't match what was happening. Evelyn slipped into a seat beside her and whispered something. Brianna smiled. I said nothing, because the moment wasn't mine to announce. Then the door opened. A man in a tailored suit stepped inside. Leather briefcase in hand. Unhurried. Calm. The kind of calm that doesn't come from confidence. It comes from fought authority. Brianna's smile faltered. Evelyn stiffened. Howard straightened. The room shifted. The attorney set his briefcase on the table. Didn't ask permission. "Good morning," he said evenly. Brianna forced a laugh. I wasn't expecting legal counsel this early. He didn't react. He opened the briefcase slowly, letting the sound carry. "Before any operational decisions continue," he said, "there are governance matters that must be clarified." Brianna leaned forward. "The board appointed me," she said quickly. The attorney nodded once. "The board appointed you to an executive role," he replied. "That does not override shareholder control." "Shareholder." The room went still. "My father was the majority owner," Brianna said, sharper now. "That's why I'm here." The attorney opened the binder. "Mr. Richard Ward founded the company with Mr. Howard Ellison," he said. Howard didn't move. "Mr. Ellison holds 10%. Then the attorney's finger moved down the page. "The remaining shares," he said calmly, "are controlled by Elena Ward." No gasps. No voices. Shock doesn't always make noise. Brianna blinked slowly. Evelyn's head snapped toward me. Howard stared. "That's not possible," Brianna said. The attorney turned the binder so everyone could see. "Shareholder ledger," he said. "Updated. Legally supervised. Approximately 12 years ago," he continued. "Mr. Ward transferred controlling shares to Mrs. Elena Ward." Brianna's breathing turned shallow. "This is a trick," she whispered. The attorney didn't raise his voice. "Controlling interest," he said. 65%. Howard looked at me. "Is it true?" he asked. I met his gaze. "It's true." 2 words. No victory speech. No smile. Just fact. The attorney closed the binder. "Given this information," he said, "actions taken under assumed authority must be corrected." Brianna's voice cracked. "Assumed." The attorney nodded. "Your executive authority is suspended pending shareholder confirmation." Her power was gone. Just like that. "And the termination of Elena Ward," he added, "is invalid." Evelyn finally snapped. "You can't just—" "We can," the attorney replied calmly. "And we will." I leaned forward slightly. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone," I said. "I'm here to protect the company Richard built." "Employees. Obligations. Stability." Brianna stared ahead. No apology. No argument. Just collapse behind the eyes. When the meeting ended, chairs scraped. People avoided Brianna's gaze. She stayed seated, still in Richard's chair. But it no longer fit. She vanished before anyone could speak to her. No storm. No slam. Just absence. By the time I stepped out of the conference room, the building felt rearranged. Not louder. Not calmer. Just different. People stood in small clusters pretending to talk about work. But their eyes kept flicking toward doors, toward corners, toward the space where Brianna had disappeared. That's what happens when truth enters a room. It doesn't shout. It makes everyone else uncertain where to stand. I walked into my old office and closed the door gently behind me. The room smelled the same. Paper. Faint coffee. Consistency. But something was wrong. My chair had been moved. My pens were gone. And the framed picture of Richard and me was face down. I stared at it longer than I meant to. Then I turned it back upright. right where it belonged. I sat down, not to plan revenge, to stabilize the building. The first knock came 10 minutes later. Payroll! Eyes red. Are we okay? She whispered. You're okay, I said. Payroll will run. Nobody's check is being touched. Her shoulders dropped like I'd loosened a rope around her neck. Next came shipping. The man Brianna humiliated. I'm sorry, he said. You don't owe me sorry, I replied. You owe your work. Keep doing it. He nodded and left. That's how order returns. Not with speeches. With certainty. Howard Ellison appeared in my doorway. You could have told me, he said quietly. Richard didn't want noise, I replied. I honored that. Howard nodded. Well, he said, it's noise now. Yes, I said. And that's why I'm here. He glanced at Richard's picture. Didn't say his name. Just nodded once and left. Brianna never came back. No apology. No email. No message sent through an assistant. She vanished. And that told me more than any words could. Some people don't apologize because apology requires facing the part of yourself you've been feeding in secret. She wasn't ready for that. Evelyn cleared her things out fast. Didn't look at anyone. Didn't ask for a meeting. She didn't come back to handle accounts. She came back to reclaim a story. When the story rejected her, she left. That night, my children called. Not angry, concerned. Are you okay? My son asked. I'm breathing, I said. And this time it was true. They didn't need the company. They didn't need titles. They needed their mother to remain herself. The woman who didn't turn cruel just because she finally had the right to. The board later asked if I would officially take the CEO title. I told them I wanted authority first. Titles later. They insisted. So I accepted. Not with a speech. Not with applause. Because leadership isn't an ego thing when hundreds of lives depend on your decisions. Leadership is responsibility dressed in whatever language the world demands. The first time I sat in Richard's chair after everything settled, there was no sunlight moment, no music. Just the hum of the building working again. And that was enough. Brianna thought silence meant weakness. She thought my calm meant fear. She thought patience meant I would swallow anything delivered politely. I let her believe that, because I didn't need to argue with a girl who didn't understand what she was touching. I only needed to wait, and when I finally spoke, I didn't raise my voice. I raised the truth.